Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage. If this is your first time visiting my channel, please go ahead, click on subscribe, and click on that bell to receive all the updates and activities on my channel. Alright, so today was a busy day in the garage. We got the engine installed, and as you saw, we got it running. It was only running briefly, and the reason why is there's no coolant in it, and it's not running off the tank. I just poured a little bit of gas in the cylinders to essentially get it to fire off. Excuse me, and make sure we had no issues with the electrical and we had spark and everything was good on that aspect of it. So we're looking pretty good. I didn't film any of it as far as the installation because, you know what, there's just a lot of steps that you have to go through, and for me to film it and be positioning the camera and try to get you guys in where you need to be and everything else, it would probably take me the better part of 7 or 8 hours to do it, and I was in a time crunch, and I needed to get this thing done in 2 or 3 hours when my wife was here to help me out, putting the engine in and help me out with the mounts. So lining up the mounts in the front end of this thing is really a two-person job because of the way they're stacked and the way the washers are, and you really need 2 sets of hands to line everything up there and then passing the bolts through and everything else. So unfortunately I didn't record any of the install, but what I am going to document next is, because there's no coolant in the system, I'm going to show you the bleeding process on that. If you're in a situation like this where the engine's out and you got to bleed it, we'll go through that process. Right, so what we need to do at this point, I'm going to do a nut and bolt check and make sure everything's good. And you know what? Working on a project, as you're getting ready to get to this point, you're always running through a million scenarios. No, did I check this? Did I check that? Are we good here? Are we good there? And one of the things I was thinking about was, check the length of the rope coming out of the recoil, make sure it's long enough. And excuse me, with everything going on, again, you're wondering about a million things and this and that and the other thing. I never checked the length of the recoil, and I should have done it when I was on the bench. So when you pull it, I'll show you how far it comes out. So what's that? 2 feet, if that. So it needs to say it's a very short throw. But again, you know what? 5 minutes on the bench would have saved me probably a half an hour to 45 minutes of now what I have to go through. And this is why I haven't put any coolant in it, because what we need to do, we're going to pull the exhaust out and we're going to pull the recoil out, and the reason why we didn't put any coolant in it because the bolts for the recoil go underneath it, and there's a coolant hose which is right there, which needs to come off on both ends in order to get access to the hardware. So yeah, that sucks, but you know what? Again, it's one of those things. I usually make a checklist of everything I need to do before I do it, but in this case I didn't, and it's come back to bite me. All right, so as far as what's next on this, I removed the steel skis. My buddy Mike had these set of skis from his Fusion lying around, so we put those on there because the steel skis that were originally on this thing were no good. So we replaced the skis, but we're also going to be putting an updated bushing set for the ski spindle. I'll show you what we're talking about in the next video once we get to that point. One thing I did notice is, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting soft in my old age, but I don't remember the throttle on these triples being this hard. And this thing is not easy to pull over. So I'm thinking what the issue is, that the throttle cable on this is no good. Because you got to remember, when I bought this sled, the sled was owned by a guy out on Cape Cod, and this sled sat underneath a tree, uncovered, for the better part of 2 years in rain, snow, and everything else. And I don't think I ever mentioned it before, but the guy that I bought it from, he actually lived on right on an estuary where his boat was, and this sled was probably maybe 300 feet from the salt water. So I think what has happened over time, salt water and everything else, well, salt air has gotten into the cables, and it's just corroded it, and I'm just getting a lot of resistance in the assembly, making it hard to pull. But I've noticed even before I took it apart, because this cable goes over the airbox, and from all the pictures I've seen online, the way it's set up, that cable is supposed to float more or less like a half an inch on top of the airbox, and this thing was tight, and so I have a feeling that this cable assembly is not even the right one that's supposed to be on here. I have a feeling it's just too short, so more likely we will be replacing that at some point. But yeah, so the oil tank is back in, the CDI is attached to it. We got the oil injection hooked up. I already bled it, so again, I apologize I didn't show any of that stuff as I was going through it, because again, it would take me 7 or 8 hours to film it and explain it. So, but if there's any questions as far as what I did, I'll be more than happy to answer them in the comments. So, but all right, so yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's coming a long way. So, we'll document the bleeding process on this, and we're gonna do the steering. And then the next major thing to do on this, I'm gonna prep the bumpers. I'm gonna remove the rest of the adhesive on the bump strips on belly pan. We're gonna take off the rear bumper. We're gonna prep all that stuff. We're gonna paint them, and we're gonna paint the bump strips and everything else, and basically get it to the point where we're ready to put the graphics on it and go from there. So I'm hoping to have this project done by Labor Day, because there's some other stuff that I need to start working on. I gotta work on the axis. I'll get more into that in a separate video. I don't want to keep rambling on about that. There's something else that's been sitting in the garage, which is right over there. I haven't introduced it yet because I wanted to get through the Ultra first. But as soon as we get done with the Ultra, we're going to be going after that. So stay tuned. All right, if there's any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments box. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day. See ya.